Hi everyone. So welcome back to the channel. We've got another conversation that I'm going to have today with Amy about, well, all things avoidant discard, which basically means that when you've been discarded by an avoidant, which is a very painful experience, but hopefully by the end of this video, you are going to feel so much better. So, Amy, hi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Hi, I'm Amy. I am a certified relationship coach and a manifesting teacher, and I specialize in attachment styles. So this subject is something that I really know a thing or two about and have experienced in my own life as well. So I think, given that a lot of viewers on my channel and I suppose yours as well have probably experienced what happens when an avoidant leaves. So I think it's going to be really good to sort of make some sense as to why, so that nobody's personalizing it.
Yeah, yeah, because it really does feel, especially when you when you're learning about this stuff, it can be very um overwhelming, but also liberating because you start learning about, what this person's behavior is saying about them, and how actually you don't need to take it personally. But when you're in the thick of it and you're in the pain of having invested so much and having really tried, maybe harder than you ever have in your life, to make a relationship work. And then, it feels like this person has just left and like, what the hell just happened? Where have they gone? Where has all that emotion gone? Why did it come to nothing? And it can feel just heartbreaking and um yeah, extremely painful. So yeah, let's make sense of it. And like Amy said, she's very knowledgeable on this topic, and lots of you recently have been resonating with the videos that I've been doing about avoidance. So yes, off we go.
Yeah,
Let's get
off
into
we
it.
go. And I'm sure sort of a lot of the viewers on your channel and mine, mainly the people I speak to, are anxiously attached,
Yeah,
or they are fearful avoidant in their anxious attachment side of that dynamic.
yeah,
And what tends to happen is, in terms of manifestation or law of attraction, they tend to attract dismissive, avoidant people because the relationship is there to show you what you're not.
yeah,
And when we look at things like trait variety, an anxious attached person might well idolize an avoidant partner because they can set boundaries
yeah,
and because they're so sure of themselves, because they can spend time on their own and enjoy it. And likewise, the avoidant is attracted to the anxious because they are in touch with their emotions
yeah,
and they do wear their hearts on the sleeve and they're not afraid of vulnerability. So we can see from the start how these two attachment styles can really, like a magnet, attract. However, after the honeymoon stage
yeah,
of a relationship, so after the dating and honeymoon stage, and the mask starts to slip,
yeah,
then the attachment trauma, as we start to actually attach to somebody, the attachment trauma comes up. And what tends to happen with dismissive avoidance is they have huge fears around intimacy, around vulnerability, around expectation. And because they're not in touch with their own emotions, they cannot be in touch with yours
yeah,
either.
yeah,
And when the pressure builds on the relationship, what tends to happen then is that they get super overwhelmed. And the only way that they can see an end to the feeling of overwhelm, which is super uncomfortable, and don't forget that dismissive avoidants are not very good at processing their feelings, they will bolt.
yeah. Or shut down. Like,
Yeah,
I've seen it happen so many times before where a relationship can go on for a really long time, but it happens because the avoidant will just completely shut down. And depending on the level of ability to set boundaries, the ability to be in touch with your own needs, the other person is, that will either make it so that those problems get brushed under the carpet, and then the intensity dies down and you're okay again until another thing happens,
yeah,
or it can blow up in really big fights that create a lot of intensity in in the relationship. But very often the quickest, easiest way for an avoidant, like you're saying, or a dismissive avoidant to cope with the overwhelm of, oh my God, this person is asking me to get in touch with this and it's too scary, is to shut down or go into flight mode in the nervous system and be like, bye. And
Hmm.
it happens so fast. And you're like, what the hell? What the hell just happened? We would
Exactly.
in a relationship. Where did you go? And
Exactly.
it's horrible being on the other side of that.
It is. And when you think about the start of a relationship, if you can put yourself into the shoes of a dismissive avoidant, at the start of the relationship, they're in their feelings
Yeah.
minus their fears.
Yeah.
So these fears of vulnerability haven't raised their head yet until it's triggered. And then the fears start to catch up
Yeah.
and then overtake the feelings, which causes them to appear to discard you, shut down, bolt, run away, hide in their man cave or woman cave. And this is how the cycle begins. And what you will find with a lot of avoidant relationships is they're very on and off. And I'm not saying just with dismissive avoidance, but with fearful avoidance, this is the pattern as well. Because when they've had time for themselves, that feelings minus fears, the fears start to drop down again. And
Yeah.
then all they're left with is feelings.
Yeah.
So at some point, they are going to have to manage their feelings. They're going to have to acknowledge that they've got these feelings, but it just takes them a lot longer to do that.
Yeah, which is why, if somebody has left and and it looks to you very much like they just don't care, they're not interested, they've not reached out, there seems to be absolutely no effort or interest in reconnecting, of saying even sorry or having any kind of completion about it. It looks and feels very much like they don't care, but they've just done the only thing they know how to do, which is take distance and space in order for them to recalibrate their nervous system so that they can actually access those feelings. And so often I've seen it happen over and over and over and over again that once they're feeling less threatened by the expectations and the pressure that they perceive of a relationship, when that's not there anymore, they'll go, oh, I really miss that about this person. Or, actually, maybe I should say sorry, given that there's no threat here. Or maybe I should reach out again. And you see, if you're not aware of this, then you can take words as, oh, they're back. They want me again. But the thing that you have to know is that actions speak so much louder than words. And this person will have to do a lot of work on themselves to get to the point where they're willing and able to take the actions that are needed to overcome their avoidance. And I have seen it happen. I have actually seen this happen with avoidant people. They're not necessarily a lost cause. I've seen it happen where avoidant people actually do go on a journey, but often it takes the consequences of their life to get them to a place where they realize that they have to.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I think dismissive avoidance, I'm not classing fearful avoidance in this, but particularly dismissive avoidance are less likely to address their own problems or go get into therapy, for example, because they don't actually see as what they're doing is a problem.
Yeah, yeah, they think that's who they are.
Yeah,
Um,
and they think that, other people should accommodate that. And
mm,
they're very rigid and they're very inflexible. And I often hear that, is he dismissive avoidant or is he a narcissist, for example?
yeah,
And, I always say to people when they're asking that question is the difference between the two is the intention.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Narcissists intend to do this as a way to manipulate purposely. And I'm not saying that dismissive avoidants aren't doing this to manipulate some of the time, but their intention might not be to manipulate. It is manipulative,
yeah,
but that might not be the intention behind it.
yeah. I think either and both, like narcissist and avoidance, and I think basically all of these things have a level of unconsciousness, even if you know that you are avoidant, even if you know that you have narcissistic traits. I mean, I think the fact that if you're wondering, am I a narcissist? I mean, my opinion is that everybody has narcissistic traits to some degree. Full-blown narcissism, you probably wouldn't be asking yourself that question.
No, absolutely not. And I think with the difference between narcissistic traits and narcissism is that narcissism is the mask that you wear consistently most of the time to
Yeah,
make you a narcissist. But, when I've been in a state of anxiety, for example, it's all me, 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 me.
yeah. Well,
And
it
that
is.
can be,
Yeah,
construed as narcissistic. Um,
yeah,
but true narcissists are rare.
yeah, yeah,
And I think the distinguished behavior of narcissism and dismissive avoidance is intention.
yeah.
Are they intending to actually do this?
So, how can leaving the for anyone wanting to leave this video feeling a bit like a bit more in control of themselves, a bit better about the situation, um, what can we say to these people who might have someone's left? And it might even be that, this avoidant, they weren't in a full-blown relationship. They were in a sort of situationship because the avoidant couldn't be vulnerable enough to be committed, which is almost just as painful because
Mm.
it's like unfinished business. It's like the book you didn't finish, or, you know, something that you couldn't complete, which feels like there's someone who got away from a potential and you never get to experience.
Yeah. And
Uh,
what I would say to that is that it is okay to leave something broken.
yeah, yeah,
You don't need to fix it.
yeah,
And because I think as humans, particularly if you're in the throes of anxious attachment and your anxiety is being triggered, the push there is to, oh, I need a resolve. I
yeah,
need to fix it. It needs to have a beginning and an end. Like if I need closure. And if it is that you can accept that it's okay to leave things broken,
yeah.
it's actually quite freeing to
And
think,
also,
oh,
if you think about the motive, like, okay, so some people might be feeling like, um, the pull of the need to fix things, the pull of the need to be the one to change it, the one to manifest it. The one, if I don't manifest it, then it's never going to happen. If I don't do something, then it's never going to happen. So I would question where that's come from.
yeah,
Where has this belief that I need to be the one to change this person's like way of looking at the world and manifest a different version of them. It's all on me. Where's that come from? Because that's the bigger question. Like, what belief in your life, at what point in your life did you believe that being loved was all on you? Sorry, someone's just come in the house.
and exactly. And to say, oh, I need to be the one that manifests this,
Mm.
and I'm going to be the one that changes this person. What a standard to hold yourself to,
Yeah, yeah,
that
exactly.
I
It's a
need to
lot of
do this.
pressure.
Exactly. And it's
And
pressure that you don't need.
and it's such a lot of pressure. And I would say, could you instead start to give yourself the belief that there's nothing I need to do to prove to anyone or to do to get someone to love me. I'm good enough exactly as I am, and there's nothing I need to do to prove it, and see how that affects your behavior and your feelings about this. And you might be like, oh, no, but something doesn't feel right. I've got to finish this. I've got to, and it's still there. That's fine. Let it be there for now. It's just
Mm.
going to take time. And
Exactly.
and you're on a
And
journey with this connection for a reason, which will, in its own way, show you the lessons that you need to learn in order to free yourself from this pattern. Um, but it's everybody's so unique in their journey and different. But yeah, it's I know how painful it is. I mean, me and you have both been through relationships and situations like this where it's been you can't see why it's happening at the time. You can't see how this person who was so intense and so obsessed with you or so something with you that connected you so deeply, how could they leave? How could they give this up? The thing is, they haven't. They haven't actually addressed it. It's still there. It's just that they're not willing to be vulnerable enough to actually connect with that part of them. And they just need to go on the journey they need to go on in order to know themselves well enough to feel safe enough with themselves to be able to access that. And you, in the meantime, do not need to be part of the damage that they will create along the way when they're not there yet, because it will only hurt you over and over and over and over again until you actually feel a really big shift. And you can do that by knowing your standards. You know, you can do that by knowing within yourself what you want, what type of energy you want, how much ease you want in your relationship. Um,
Exactly. And I was just about to move on to that. It's so important to know what your yeses and nos are
yeah,
and to feel confident enough to show up for those yeses and nos.
yeah, exactly. Actually, it's one of the things that I've been doing in my groups recently, asking people to write a list of hell yes and hell no. And anything that's like, oh, well, this is okay, it could be a hell yes, but it's not a hell yes, so it goes in hell no. And the reason why this is so powerful is because it gets you to see where you're totally out of alignment with the life that you actually want. And once you see this hell yes list, you've got to start making decisions that navigate you towards that type of life, that type of conversation, that type of connection. And that might mean you discarding things that don't serve you. And that's a really powerful, empowering thing to do, you know?
Exactly. And particularly sort of like with fearful avoidance, if it is that you're anxious attached, but you do have an avoidant side, what I see with those individuals is that they give and give and give and give
Yeah.
until they just get sick of giving.
Yeah. Until it's a point where they reach their pain point, their threshold of like, oh my
Exactly.
God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I actually, if you're in the middle of this and you're like, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not, I just can't, I'm not, I can't let go, I don't want to let go, that's okay because you're not there yet. And you kind of have to just trust that, um, life and this situation will absolutely present to you the clarity on what you need to do and how you need to go forward one way or the other. And you don't need to try and figure it out. It's just going to become clear. Like, we were talking earlier about times where we've gone, right, God, show me the way, because I don't
Mm,
know what to do. And then something presents itself, you know? So trust, let go and let God, they say. Um, I think it is the best way sometimes with these situations, but
it is.
hopefully, well, like with this conversation, you've understood that this is not your fault. Um, what you need to do now is be really clear on what you do want and set boundaries, notice when someone's being avoidant and don't take it personally, and understand that they're going through their own process and that you have had an impact on them in their life massively. And that the love that you've shown them has impacted them and always will in some way. It's like I always think relationships that we have in our life like really do leave a sort of footprint, like a tattoo on our heart and our life path, teach us something. And we don't know where that's going to lead right now, but know that it has not gone to waste and that you are incredibly special. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a really vulnerable thing to say, right, okay, I'm giving this to you, God, and the chips will fall wherever they fall. And I know that it's uncomfortable. I know that the uncertainty is uncomfortable.
Mm.
But sometimes, we do need to sit in uncertainty. And, sometimes uncertainty is followed by something really, really great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And in the meantime as well, while you're struggling with, oh my God, I can't let go, and the attachment and the pain and the obsession about it, that's where you can work on yourself. That's where you can work on freeing yourself and work
Mm,
with a coach, work with a therapist, work with a group, because this is where you can have the best opportunity to heal and grow and actually attract a whole new vibe in your relationship, which is going to be so much better than you chasing, feeling like you've got to manifest it, doing all the work. being confused about why someone is the way they are, that's not in your future. That's not there. We can let that
No.
go. We can let it be in the past now. Um, so yeah, hopefully you found this video useful. If you'd like to talk to me or to Amy, I'll leave Amy's information in the link below, and maybe you can leave mine on your video because I think we'll both
Of
go both
course.
post it. And yeah, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.
Bye, everyone.